Thank you. Now, yesterday, Secretary of State John Kerry made the rounds on the Sunday talk shows. Now, before his appearance on Fox News Sunday, he was caught on a hot mic making these comments about the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Watch this.
It's a hell of a pinpoint operation. It's a hell of a pinpoint operation.
Right. It's escalating really significantly, and it just underscores the need for ceasefire.
We've got to get over there.
Yep.
Thank you, John. I think, John, we ought to go tonight. I think it's crazy to be sitting around.
Here with reaction, Israel's ambassador to the United States, Ron Dermer. How about I give you my interpretation and tell me where you're wrong? Sounds like he is angry. He's impatient. He feels that this has gone beyond what he thinks is appropriate, and he's going over there to give you guys a lecture in Israel. That's how I interpreted that, and I think it's the wrong thing to do and act, wrong way to act, and the wrong thing to say. Your reaction?
Well, I don't think that's the case. I'm sure that Secretary Kerry supports Israel's right to defend itself. I've heard him say that. He said that to me personally. He said that on air. In countless interviews that he gave yesterday. And I think there's broad backing for Israel's right to defend itself because people understand. They ask themselves, what would America do if you had 2,000 rockets fired at America by a terror organization from contiguous territory and 200 million Americans in bomb shelters, about two-thirds of your country, because that's the situation that we have in Israel. So there's broad backing for Israel's right to defend itself. And I want to remind you, Sean, we agreed to a ceasefire.
Twice.
We didn't want to get into this operation to begin with. The Prime Minister about 2 weeks ago said quiet would be met with quiet. Unfortunately, Hamas continued to fire rockets. Then we had an Egyptian proposal for a ceasefire. Israel agreed to it. Hamas rejected it. There were UN ceasefire proposals. There was also a humanitarian ceasefire proposal. And every single time, Israel abided by it and Hamas rejected. That's the problem. Hamas has to stop the rocket fire at Israel.
But Hamas is a terrorist organization. Hamas initiated this. Hamas is using Palestinians as shields in this operation as they fire these rockets from schools and from hospitals and heavily populated areas. Hamas is pushing the Palestinians back in their homes because they want, obviously, they want the PR of dead bodies so that they can get world opinion on their side. What are you doing to prevent civilian casualties, which, by the way, is fairly unique to a war situation, is it not?
It is, and I think it's unprecedented, particularly when your own homeland is being attacked. We've got two-thirds of our population in bomb shelters, and we are taking action that I'm not aware another country faced with a similar threat has ever taken. We drop flyers, and we make phone calls, and we send text messages. We do everything to keep their civilians out of harm's way. They do everything to keep their civilians in harm's way. That's the difference between us and them. And I don't know, Sean, if there is another example of an organization or a state, in this case it's a terror organization, Hamas, using their civilians as human shields in such a strategic, structural way. That's what's happening. Their entire tunnel network, their missile system, everything is designed to force Israel to take action in the hope that we will make a mistake, that civilians will be killed, and even the most careful action, legitimate actions of self-defense, civilians could be killed. Then they're hoping that those pictures will run on television, and everyone who sees those pictures, obviously, you have a heart, you're very compassionate, but then they hope the blame will be put on Israel. It has to be put on Hamas for putting their civilians in harm's way.
I got to tell you something. I don't think I've seen, now this is a video, a surveillance video underground right there of a number of Hamas people. I don't think I've seen a more sophisticated underground tunnel system in my entire life. How many tunnels do you think are running from Gaza into Israel? Because this one got blown out by the Israeli Defense Force. I don't want to
give you an exact number, but let's just say it's dozens. And we're exploding a lot of them right now. We're finding a lot of them. That's why our military is in there. But it just goes to underscore once again that Hamas took hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that they received, not to provide a better future for the people of Gaza, not to help the Palestinian civilians in Gaza have a better life, but basically to build these terror catacombs. That's what you have, a subterranean fortress that they have built under Gaza in order to attack Israel.
It's very interesting because what would America do is the main question. Two-thirds of the country in a bomb shelter, 2,000 rockets fired into American towns and cities. You know, I actually spoke with you earlier today. You used an interesting analogy where, you know, you talked about the bombing of Britain in World War II and what their reaction was with the Germans. They carpet bombed German cities under the similar circumstances.
Look, that's the only other example you have where a city or a country is rocketed with thousands of rockets. That's why I think that not only should Israel's action against this terror organization be supported, we deserve the admiration of the international community for the way that we are conducting this war. We are conducting it when our own people are sitting in shelters, and we are doing everything to avoid civilian casualties. And if the world wants to prevent more Palestinian civilian casualties in the future, they should stand with Israel today. They should send a message to Hamas that the human shield strategy is not going to work. We're not buying it. We're not going to blame Israel for this. We're going to blame you. And I hope that the UN, international human rights organizations will stop being silent and will take a clear stand against Hamas and their use of human shields.
All right, Ambassador Dermer, thank you for being with us.